From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production, the NFL Bet Exchange, hosted by my man, Pop DiBiase, the primetime capper, and the Don of Cape Cod, Jeff Dawson.
What's up, world? What's up? It is time for the NFL Bet Exchange with your host, Pop DiBiase, the primetime capper, and the Don of Cape Cod himself, nestled up in his lovely office in beautiful Cape Cod, Mr. Jeff Dawson. What's going on, sir? How's everything going today?
Pops, another week that crushing it here. You got the totals over there. Maybe next week we'll run them. I think I got to be well over 30 plus over the 500 mark. And NFL, I don't know what it is. It's a sport where every game is a game. Meaning, you can pick up some sports and follow who's hot, who's not, but it doesn't matter in the NFL. We talk about this. NFL stands for any given Sunday, and for some reason, we've been on the right side. You yourself had a hell of a week last week as well. This week, anyone listening and watching today, I cannot stress this enough. Okay, if you're one of these guys that gets into these windows early, like you're supposed to sometimes, I would back off that plan this week. COVID is running so rampant. By kickoff on Sunday, you could have half a team. Goodell's playing these games. He's not stopping. So just be careful. This might be a week to pull back if you've been crushing it the last few weeks, because again, the Cleveland team, for instance, they went from 3.5, 4-point favorites. They're 1-point dogs, which we'll get to soon. Crazy out there, Pops. Crazy out there.
Yes, and Jeff went 9-5 last week, just to give you guys that, and I went 9-5 finally after just struggling throughout these few weeks and everything like that. But you know what, though? You know what? We make up for it by getting you all them dogs home and everything like that too as well, Jeff. So hey, it is what it is, man. But yes, Jeff went 9-5 once again this week. I'll have all the numbers set up next week and everything like that, so you guys can see where we're sitting at. Just know that I'm well below 500 right now. I'll be picking number one in the springtime. Jeff is possibly on his way to the Super Bowl or something like that. But yeah, it is what it is. All right, so we let's go ahead and jump into our first game of the night, and that's going to be the first game of the week. Actually, I'm sorry. This is going to be Thursday night football as well too. This is going to be between the Chargers and the Chiefs, and the Chargers will be the host for this game tonight as well too. We have ourselves a minus 165 on the Chiefs tonight. The Chargers coming in at plus 135, and we got a plus 3 on the spread tonight as well too. And we got a 52.5 when it comes down to the over and under as well too. And also fantasy owners, TJ Hawkinson's is done for the season. I just got the note right here. I just want to go ahead and add that part in there real quick, that Hawkinson will be done for the season. So it doesn't really matter. Detroit was done for the season after week 1. So it is what it is, but that is a big target. And I know that's a big fantasy player as well. So when I look into my notes for this game right here, we have ourselves a very even contest tonight. Now, the Chargers did win in week 3, 30-24 in a very competitive game. And, at that point in time, the Chiefs were kind of going through the motions a little bit. And when you look at how the Chiefs stacked up at that time, they played those first six games where they went 2-4. They played against all teams that are in playoff races or are leading their divisions right now. So, this was probably the best time of the year to get to them because they were still getting things together. Right now, they're 4-2 straight up on primetime this season. Okay, they've had 6 primetime games, and they have had 3 on Sunday Night Football and 3 on Monday Night Football. Wow, that's incredible. 6 primetime games in 15 weeks of football. Then they are 3, but they're 4-2 straight up in this situation. 3-3 against the spread. Now, one thing that is working for them, they are 4-0 versus the Chargers since they moved back to LA. They've absolutely whooped on the Chargers every single time since coming back to Los Angeles. Now, they've won 7 straight in general against the Chargers, dating back to when the Chargers were still in San Diego. And when it comes down to and they're 4-3 straight up versus the Chargers since they moved to LA. So pretty much they have that working out in their regard as well too. So that's all in all. That's the even part. And then on the road, they're 3-2 against the spread and straight up. And then also when it comes to over and unders, they went over in 3 out of the 5 games they've had on the road. And on the road, they're averaging 30 points per game and allowing 24 points per game. They scored 30 plus points on the road 4 out of the 5 games that they've been involved in, except for the Tennessee game. You know that, Jeff. And then when it comes against the division, they are 3-1 against the spread and straight up. And you have to understand they have won 3 straight since that first division loss to the Chargers. And they are 2-2 when it comes down to the division as well, too, when it comes down to the over and under, meaning that it's a split. So the Chargers, they have had 2 games on primetime, and they've won both of those games straight up, 2-0. Now they're 1-1 against the spread, and they've won the last 2 games versus the Chiefs. Even though those games were in Kansas City, hey, it is what it is. Scoreboard, they've won the last 2 games against them. In their last 6 meetings, they're 3-3. And when it comes down to against the spread and straight up as an underdog this year, the Chargers are one of the best. They're 3-1, and these are the teams that they beat: Washington, the Chiefs, and the Bengals. All on the road, and all these teams are playoff bound right now. And the one loss comes to the Ravens. So, you know, they got the quality, you know what I mean? And then they're 4-3 straight up at home, and then they're 3-4 against the spread at home as well, too. And then when it comes down to the over and under, they've went over in 4 out of those 7 games at home. And now when it comes down to that, they're averaging 30.5 points and only allowing 25, but there's still a lot of points getting scored. And in their last 2 home games, they've won 2 in a row, and they've outscored their opponents 78-35 in that stretch as well, too. They are absolutely crushing it right now when it comes to being a good team. And they're 2-1 against the spread straight up in the division as well, too. So, yeah, the Chargers and the Chiefs, I know that's a lot. So I'm going to actually go ahead and I'm going to actually go somewhere where they probably don't think I'm going to go to, Jeff. And I'm going to actually go ahead and pick the Chiefs in this spot, because I think that the Chiefs just have the big game mentality, and the Chargers just do not win big games for some odd reason. They won a few years ago when I was in New York in Kansas City. It's same type of game, same type of time of the year and everything like that. But still, they wound up messing up the next week anyway. But this game right here is so important for the Chargers that I know that they're going to shoot themselves in the foot. This is going to wind up being a very close game with Kansas City winding up being the winner. Now, if they meet up in the playoffs, it's a 50-50 bag. But tonight, I think Kansas City continues their streak in Los Angeles, and they go ahead and get themselves a nice little win here. And I know it was tough for me to do this, Jeff, because I've been really, really feeling the Chargers lately. But I just know that the way that this game works out, this big game situation, I trust the Chiefs a little bit more in the spot. And I want to win. I don't want to just be putting out teams and having to mark that X next to them. I think the Chiefs are good money tonight. I'm taking them with the -165.
You know, the last 5-6 weeks, we've lost that little banter that we've had back and forth about Mahomes and company when they were really struggling. But, I mean, let's be honest here. It's been the defense that has kind of jump-started this Chiefs run here. And I was talking to Scott on the Breakfast Bankroll this morning, and they haven't allowed more than 14 points in the last, 6 weeks. And most of their games, they've been allowing 9 and 10 points. It's a game where short week, I expect the Chiefs and Judge, I expect it to be a decent game. But as you said, I think this is where the cream rises to the top. Herbert is second year. Mahomes has been around. I think this is his 4th year now. I like everything about where the Chiefs are going. Now, with that being said, could the Chiefs and the Pats lose? And that's what the NFL probably wants, Pops, because then there will be a turmoil for the number 1 seed. You know, there's a difference of playing to get into the playoffs versus playing for number one seeds. And the Chargers are more the desperate team. They're at home, they're catching three. So I think that would be the smarter side here. But I'm not stepping in front of this Kansas City train. I'm following your lead here. I don't want to get, I think this line's about to go to 3.5, by the way. I see a minus 20 juice at Circa. I saw a 25 somewhere else. So it's going to go to 3.5 by kickoff. I'm just going to say win, baby, win. And I think the Chiefs get it done. The initial number was 49.5. I see here a 27-23 Kansas City win, Pubs.
And hey, I love it. I love it. I love it. And you know what? Hey, I just have to be realistic, Jeff. It is what it is at the end of the day. You know what I mean? And so, you got to be realistic, man. And that's how I feel that it's just too tough to bet against Andy Reid in this spot and Mahomes. It's just because they just been handling this division for so long. But this will be a huge win for the Chargers tonight if they're able to get this, because this will boost fans as well, too, because fans are starting to get a little bit more like, hey, you know what? I kind of like these guys. You know what I mean? And it's really the quarterback. And that's what got everybody really really to where, hey, you know what? This is what we want to do. This is what we want to be. You know what I mean? And we like this guy, and we think he's going to be good. So, I think that we wind up having ourselves a damn good game tonight between these two great quarterbacks, man. I know that a lot of people look forward to this one as well, too. So let's go ahead and get into these Saturday games real quick, Jeff. We got the Browns and the Raiders, and we have ourselves the Browns. Like you said before, the Browns went from being a 5.5-point favorite now to being a plus 1.5 after the COVID rules, after COVID has reared its ugly head in this situation. So pretty much what we have here is, when I look at my notes today, I know notes don't really matter because the thing is that, these two teams are dealing with the COVID issue, but I don't care. This is still a ball game going on Saturday, and the Raiders, can you trust the Raiders right now? Let me tell you why you can't trust the Raiders right now. They're 3-7 since starting the season 3-0, okay? They're downright awful. So they've lost 7 out of their last 10 games since starting the season 3-0. Now I know Gruden, blah, 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 but still, it's the number, Jeff. You know what I mean? And then they've won, but one thing that's worked out for them, they've won 3 in a row versus the Browns here, okay? And they are 2-0 on the road as well, too, versus the Browns. Last win coming back in 2019, it was a very thorough win. It was the same type of situation when the Browns are playing for the playoffs, and they wind up losing to the Raiders in a very close game. Now, against the AFC this year, which is why I'm bringing this up today, because the thing is, this is very important so people can understand how this playoff carousel is working. Now, the Raiders are 4-4 versus the AFC straight up, and they're 3-5 against the spread versus the AFC. Now, when it comes down to the over and under, they went over in 5 out of the 8 games. The Raiders are allowing 30.6 points per game against the AFC. Now, when it comes down to against the spread and straight up on the road, they're even 3-3 and 2-2 versus the AFC. And once again, over and under, they are even in that category as well, too. Now, the Browns are 4-5 since the 3-1 start, and they're 4-5 versus the AFC, and they are 3-6 against the spread versus the AFC. Now, when it comes to the over and under, they went over in 6 out of those 9 games versus the AFC this year. Now, when it comes down to these home games, they are 5-2 straight up at home, 3-1 versus the AFC. Now, when it comes down to going against the spread, they're 2-5 against the spread, and they're 0-3 versus the AFC against the spread. And now, when it comes down to the over and under, they went under in 4 out of those 7 games, and they've wound up going over in 2 out of 3 of those games versus the AFC. Now, I'm just going to be real quick here. I just think that Case Keenum's going to have himself a good day against the Raiders, to be honest with you. And the way that the running game works for the Browns, they should be okay, because, one thing the Raiders really can't do is that stop the run. And Nick Chubb should have himself a 150-yard or better day against this team. And if you're the Browns, just keep the ball on the ground and chew up as much clock as you possibly can. Take advantage of the cold weather. And I think the Browns can go ahead and win this game, not just by a few points, but by double digits or better. I think the Raiders have went. The Raiders are Cancun thinking right now, or day party thinking right now, because I don't think that they care to win any more football games. To be honest with you, maybe they've been instructed by their sorry ass owner as well too to not win any more football games as well. Because when you're going to put that coach in place as the head coach, no offense to Bisaccia, but you're an assistant. You're not a head coach, and it showed up, and this is why the Raiders are in the position that they're in now. All right, so there it is, plus 100 on the Browns here, and that's where I'm going with this one. Jeff?
I'm not. It's going to be tough all week to follow these numbers. I'm not following the COVID trail. Put it that way. In regards to this, the actual computer model had 5 and 44. Obviously, that's changed, as I think the Browns are up to about 20 players on the list now and coaches. But it's one game, and I think Case knows what to do. He's got Chubb. I think Chubb will touch the ball 20, 25 times. I think the defense will be up for the challenge. A Raiders team that's just going through the motions right now, and a Brown team with a win can get to 8-6 and stay in the race. I like the Browns still. I'm on the Browns here. I think we grabbed the 1.5 on this. But I don't expect them just to cover. I definitely see them winning. We got a total right now of 38.5. They're trying to give you the 21-17 game right now here, Pops. I don't think that the Raiders score 17 anyways, so I'm looking more in that 23-14 area. But I think the Browns should take care of business at home, COVID or no COVID.
All right. And there it is. There it is with that. So Jeff has it just like me with the plus 1.5 on the side on his side with the picks with his pick. So we are both in accordance on the first 2 plays of the day. We're step with that. But it's funny, last week is like I won it, he lost it. I lost it, you won it. That's why we finished up 9-5. Like literally, we almost came together and had a perfect week. All right, so we move forward. Let's go ahead and talk about the Colts and the Pats. And this one right here is a sneaky good game right here, Pats and Colts. I don't think that we need to start talking about the old rivalry, though, because it wasn't really a rivalry. It was more like Tom Brady embarrassing Peyton Manning. That's what it really was. You know what I mean? How many did Peyton win out of that deal? Maybe 4. You know what I mean? It was never a rivalry. What's that? You know what I mean? Like, seriously. It used to be a money-burning game for people that used to be in love with the Colts. That's what I can tell you. That's the truest part about that game, brother. All right, so let's go ahead. I'm digging into my notes right now. We have the Pats who are 9-4 right now. The Colts are 7-6. The Pats have won 7 games in a row. I know that I'm just repeating what everybody else has been saying all week about them. 7 wins in a row after a 2-4 start. Then versus the AFC, this is why the Pats are the number 1 seed. 7-1 straight up, 6-2 against the spread. They went over in 5 out of the 8 games they played against the AFC. Now, when it comes down to their road games and being road warriors this year, from what you can see on their record, they're 6-0 straight up, 4-0 versus the AFC. Now they're 5-1 against the spread and 3-1 versus the AFC when it comes to the spread. So pretty much they have this taken care of in that regard. And then once again, when it comes down to the over and under, they've actually went under in 4 out of the 6 games that they played on the road, and they split with the AFC. And peep this, Jeff, the alarming stat that I get from the Patriots is that they're only allowing 11.3 points per game on the road. That's absolutely insane right there, brother. And they pitched the shutout as well, too. I think they've given up about 6 points in their last 2 home games. They haven't even let anybody get to double digits. That's how good they are on the road. They let the Bills score 10. So, yeah, there's that. All right, so you got the Colts 7-3 after starting the season 0-3. Now, that's called being hot, Jeff. 7-3 after starting 0-3. You know what I mean? Don't just say they're hot because they beat up on the Lions. Come on, dude. The Lions are soft frost compared to the NFL varsity at this point, man. Seriously. 6-3 straight up versus the AFC. 6-2-1 against the spread versus the AFC. They have went over in 5 out of 9 games versus the AFC this year as well too. They're 4-3 straight up at home, 3-1 versus the AFC, and then when it comes to the spread, they're 3-3-1, and they have went 2-1-1 versus the AFC in that spread situation at home. So when I look at this one, I like the team that's on. I think that the team that's on HBO Hard Knocks right now is going to wind up being the winner of this game, Jeff. I'm going to go ahead. I would take the Colts with the 2.5 to get the what we will call they're going to call it a slight upset, but why would you have them as the favorite if it's a slight upset? So I do like the Colts in this spot. What are you thinking about when it comes to this game?
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised the way this number has gone. The actual opening line was the Pats minus 2.5, but by the time it got to the public, it was a pick or Indy -1, and it's gone to Indy to 2 and 2.5. If you look back at the Patriots under Bill Belichick coming off a bye, his number is absolutely incredible. And as we've talked at length now about when the Patriots are in this mid-season swoon, as we should say it, this team is clicking on all cylinders. They're just coming off a win in Buffalo when they threw the ball only 3 times. So maybe the past 10 days, 12 days, in a dome setting, you might see Mac throw it now 20, 25 times. I mean, I can tell you this, Bill takes out your number one player, and that's Jonathan Taylor. I'm not saying Jonathan Taylor is going to get shut down, but I am going to say Jonathan Taylor isn't running for 178 and 3. So with that all said, the numbers say 24-21, and we bought the hook. We took the Pats up to 3. Would not be shocked if the Pats went in here and won. But as I talked about in the Thursday night game, Pops, I would not be shocked either if the Chiefs and the Patriots both lose, and now everyone's even a step closer to that number 1 seed. So we see the value in the Pats. They're on a roll. We're not stepping in front of them. Look for a big game from Harris and Stevenson, maybe a little Jacoby Myers and Kendrick Bourne. How about that? Kendrick Bourne, anytime touchdown. Take a look at that as a prop. But we got the Pats +3 as our side today, Pops.
All right, so there it is. We knew we was going to face off at some point, and we're going to face off in a game that they swear is a rivalry. So we'll see how it goes. Hopefully Carson Wentz can go ahead and make me look good on Saturday night. I just think that the Pats are going to be everybody's love affair. And I think that what's going to happen is that the Colts wind up getting the win because they got it. That streak going to have to end at some point. And I just think the defense is going to give Mac a couple issues. But let's move on to our next game. Panthers at the Bills. And we have ourselves pretty much the get-over game, as we like to say at the racetrack, Jeff. It's a square. Race 1. Allowance optional claimer, 4 horses in the race. And your horse is 1 to 2. And this bad boy is going to have a paid paid workout, as we like to say at the racetrack as well too. I think, honestly, I'm going to get into my notes real quick, but I'm going to be real quick with my answer here. Now, Panthers 2-8 since starting season 3-0. Don't you see that starting the season 3-0 is so overrated, Jeff? Every team that started the season 3-0 is literally, if your name is not the Cardinals, you're in a bad situation right now. Okay, 3-3 against the spread and straight up on the road, and they are even when it comes to the over and under on the road as well too. Now versus the AFC, they are 2-1 against the spread and straight up, and then when it comes down to the over and under, they went under in 2 out of 3 of those games. So they have had they've done okay against the AFC, but they weren't really playing anybody either, though. You know what I mean? Like the Jets. Come on, man. It's Jets. It's Jets. Come on, dog. You can't take the Jets home with you. You know what I mean? You can't brag about the Jets. And the Bills come in here 3-5 since their 4-1 start. No, that's not a big deal though. You know what I mean? And when it comes down to against the spread and straight up, they're 3-3 even. And they went under 4 out of the 6 games at home. And then when it comes down to the spread, to the straight up wins, they are 2-1 versus the NFC. And then they went over in 2 out of those 3 games versus the NFC. I'm going to be real quick here, Jeff. I hate to do this, but the way Buffalo plays against really bad teams at home, it's a no-brainer. Give me the 10.5 on the Bills. They win this game by 2 touchdowns or better. I think they win it by 20 or better, to be honest with you, like they've done all season.
I mean, it's like the NFL says, all right, guys, here you go. This is your get well game. But don't forget, too, they could be peeking ahead because then they head to Gillette next week for a rematch against the Pats. But it's a must-win for the Bills, coming off back-to-back heartbreakers, one to the Pats and one to the Bucs. With that being said, I bought the hook. I got the Bills down to 10. Now, I did see Darnold is back. Now, I don't know if Sam's going to play, if Cam's going to play, if Walker's going to play, or if they're going to run the wishbone at quarterback. But I just think it's the Bills early and often. I think they need a reset, and let's get our game plan set here. Let's take care of business early and often so then we can really get ahead of our schedule and get ready for the Pats the following week. But I'm following your lead here. Bills early and often, Pops.
Yes, sir. So with that, we're going to go ahead and take a quick commercial break. And when we get back, we'll have some more early games for you guys. So you guys stay tuned. This is the NFL Bet Exchange with your host, Pop DBIC, the Primetime Capper, in the Don of Cape Cod, Mr. Jeff Dawson, and we'll be right back.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners, and I'll have another in Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
Tune into Big Wave Boxing every week with a brand new guest with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper, getting the best boxing stories, best boxing angles, and the truth when it all comes down to the sweet science. Tune into Big Wave Boxing on the Prime Wave Media channel on YouTube.
All right, we are back with the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Anglers Live, and it is time. It is time for a game that a lot of us been kind of waiting for. I'm so surprised that they're playing it so late, this late in the season. They're going to play twice in the next 4 weeks. So we have the Washington football team and the Philadelphia Eagles. It's crazy that Jason Wright is a high end for that team. He was just in the NFL maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago. You know what I mean? So crazy running back for he had a great game with the Browns one time. They were pushing for that playoff spot. That's the year they had Derek Anderson. So it's crazy that he runs their team now. So we have this game though. This should be a good one. We got Washington football team, the Washington football team, and going against the Eagles. Now, Washington is 5-8 overall against the spread, and they went under in 8 out of their 13 games this year. Now, versus the NFC, they're 5-3 straight up. That's why they're still sitting in the 7th spot of the playoff race, and they are 4-4 against the spread versus the NFC. They're even when it comes to the over and under in their 8 games as well too. Now, they've only played 2 division games. They're 1-1 straight up in the division. And then they're 0-2 when it comes to the spread in the division. Now, they split on the over and under and went on the road. This team is 3-2 against the spread straight up and 2-1 versus the NFC. And then when it comes to the over and under, they've went under in 3 out of those 5 games. But when it comes to the NFC, they went over in 2 out of those 3 games. Now, we have the Eagles here, 7-6 against the spread. and they are 8-5. They went over in 8 out of their 13 games this year. Now, straight up versus the NFC, they're 3-5 against the spread. They're 4-4. They've went under in 5 out of the 8 games they've been involved in. And against the division, they're 0-2 losses to the Cowboys and the Giants. And they are one. They have went. They're even when it comes to the over under as well too. So, yeah, when you look at this game, all this game tells me, Mr. Dawson, is this. This is all it tells me, Mr. Dawson, is that this gonna be my dog bet of the week. Man, I know that they're gonna warn us not to take Washington. You cannot trust a team like Philadelphia with a spread like this. I'm sorry. You just can't. I'm going with Taylor Haneke because regardless of losing to the Cowboys last week, that was probably – we all knew the Cowboys needed to win that game more than anything, and Washington could afford to lose just that spot right there, but they can't afford to lose this game, and they're playing with a new ambition. I love them coming into this game. Plus 230 Washington football team, and the possibility of Temu possibly starting on Sunday, who I felt was the best quarterback physically in the XFL. He played for the St. Louis team. Nobody took seriously, but they were one of the better teams in the league as well too. But Teamo, if he's able to play this week, it could be something different. You know, that's a gives you kind of the Tua element in a sense. You know what I mean? But he's a bit better than Tua, to be honest with you.
You know, I just looked at the number, and for someone that was on Washington last week, and I like where your head is. I you know, if you took Washington against Dallas, then why wouldn't you take them in this spot? I just think the number is just sending up a red flag to us. It opened at 7, which seems real high. Eagles coming off a bye. Again, teams coming off a bye. What did you do during those 10 days is the question to me. We bought the cheese, no pun intended. We bought the hook. We took it down to 6.5. We're hoping that Philly takes care of business, wins by a touchdown or more. I'm hearing a lot of COVID news in Washington. Terry McLaurin also in concussion protocol. A lot of injuries back there. They haven't had Chase Young in a while, obviously, and Smoot's been out. So I think it's a Washington team that peaked, that made a great run, and I think you're going to see after this week, the loser's out. So I think Philly finds a way at home, gets to 7-7, still in that playoff hunt. And so Eagles by 7 or more, Pops.
All right. So Jeff likes the Eagles. I like the Washington football team. Another face-off. Let's get it. All right. So there it is with that. We move forward. Let's go ahead and jump into our next game, which is going to be this one right here. This one is going to be a really fun game. This is going to be the Cowboys and 49ers meeting up once again. The Cowboys won their first matchup during week 6. They wound up winning that game 44-20 that day. So pretty much they are back to go ahead and try to sweep. But you know that this is always a tough game for the Cowboys when they have to come to when they have to pull up here in when they have to pull up over here in East Rutherford. Are we still in East Rutherford with the MetLife is MetLife is in the parking lot. You know, MetLife was because the Meadowlands ain't nothing but was right across the way. So pretty much, and the Meadowlands is still around. The stadium's just not there anymore. But they run harness racing at the Meadowlands for anybody that wanted to know that fun fact. All right, so what I have in my notes for this game right here, we have the Cowboys 9-4, Giants 4-9. Cowboys are 10-3 against the spread. They've went under in 7 out of their 13 games. And then when it comes down to the NFC, this could be the reason why they could actually run the table here in the NFC playoffs as well too. They're 7-1 straight up versus the NFC. One loss coming to the Buccaneers opening day. 8-0 against the spread versus the NFC. They are 4-4. They are split when it comes to the over and under. But this though, Jeff, their first 4 games went over, and their last 4 have went under against the NFC. Now against the division, 3-0 straight up, and against the spread, and they are 3-0 against the spread, 2-1. No. They're 3-0 against the spread and straight up, and then they have went over in 2 out of the 3 games versus division. Now on the road, they're 5-2 straight up, 3-1 versus the NFC, 6-1 against the spread, but 4-0 against the spread versus the NFC. And then when it comes down to the under, they went under in 5 out of those 7 games, and they went under in 3 out of those 4 games versus the NFC. So this team is looking pretty good coming in. Giants 6-7 against the spread. They went under in 9 out of their 13 games. Now against the NFC, they're 3-5 straight up, 4-4 against the spread, and went under in 5 out of those 8 games. Now versus the division, they're 1-2 straight up, 2-1 against the spread, and they've went over in 2 out of 3 of those games. Now at home, they're 3-4 against the spread and straight up, and 2-3 versus the NFC in that regard as well too. And all their home games have went under this year, and they've had 7 home games this year, and 5 of those against the NFC. So every single one of those games have went under, and so pretty much, I know that this one right here is an absolute smash on the New York Giants. Hard, pound the window, maybe break that mug if you have to, Jeff. Plus 10.5 in East Rutherford in December. I'll take it all day, and twice on Monday. Let's go. What are your thoughts?
It's a game where, again, Vegas really doesn't want to get burned by a lot of the high-profile teams, especially as the season progresses. You usually see in December the favorites just come rolling in. As last week, I think they were 11-2 at one point. A line that opened up at 10 is at 10.5. It's at 11 already on DraftKings. No rhyme or reason here. I bought the hook. I took the Giants plus 11. Show some pride. I mean, guys, you guys are playing for your jobs next year. You're not just playing out the string. Barkley's only scored 2 touchdowns this year. Get him in open space, dink and dunk. I mean, have the guy touch the ball 30 times. Keep Dallas under 30. Can you do that? I mean, the under-over in this game right now is at 44 and a hook. So they're kind of telling you right now 27-17. So they don't expect the Giants to get over 17, but we got the Giants plus 11. It's a hope and pray spot, no rhyme or reason, just a home dog divisional game. Show some pride, win the turnover battle, and see what happens, Pops.
Yes, sir. So Giants we trust come Sunday. And the Giants been able to help me out a lot of times in East Rutherford against the Cowboys. I can tell you that. I know for out of all the years I've been watching this game that they've been doing that. And you know what? Let me give you guys a great analogy on this. There's not one year of my life or one year I've been watching football where they haven't showed the Giants and the Cowboys as one of the premier games or something of the season. And I know it's an early game, but it's weird not to see them in the primetime spot that they usually used to be in. You know what I mean? Because that's how far the Giants have fallen. All right, so there it is with that. We move forward with our next game, which is going to be the Titans and the Steelers. The Titans and the Steelers coming to this one. One team needs to win to keep in the race, and another team can kind of breathe a little bit, just a little bit, because the Titans are in a good spot. They've already swept the Colts. So if they have the same record at the end of the year, they get in. You know what I mean? So that works out really well for the Titans. Now, the Steelers, on the other hand, the Steelers are like that scum that you have in your bathroom that you just can't get out. You know, put everything to it, but it just does not want to leave. Literally, you have to tear the whole house apart for that to get out of there. And it still might be there when it's all said and done. That's how crazy a season it's been for this Steelers team. We literally had the Steelers obituary the first 4 weeks of the season, Jeff. I know I did. I was literally driving them to the graveyard. But no, Big Ben pulls his hand up like a character in Thriller, and now they are sitting here in a playoff position right now, and they could possibly steal their division. Titans 8-5 against the spread. They went over in 7 out of their 13 games this year. They also are 6-3 versus the AFC. They're 5-3-1 against the spread versus the AFC, and they went over in 5 out of 9 games versus the AFC. Now on the road, they're 4-2 straight up, 2-2 versus the AFC. Against the spread, they're 3-2-1. And on the road, they're 1-2-1 versus the AFC. Now, when it comes to the over and under, they went over in 5 out of the 6 games that they played on the road, and they went ahead and actually went over 3 out of the 4 times that they've played against the AFC. So yeah, these games tend to go over with them. Now the Steelers 5-8 against the spread, 5-8. Have went under in 8 out of their 13 games this year. They're even when it comes to straight up versus the AFC, 4-4 in their 8 games, but they're 5-3 against the spread versus the AFC, and then they went under in 5 out of these 8 of these games. Now at home, they're 4-2-1 straight up, 2-2 versus the AFC. But this is a good stat. The Steelers actually started off the season very uncharacteristically started off the season 0-2 at home. They've won their last 4 in a row and with that bye. So they've had 5 straight home games where they've went ahead and actually been able to win, but they did have a draw in one of those as well too. So it does make sense. All right, so pretty much they do have they are 2-5 against the spread at home, but they're 2-2 versus the AFC at home. And when it comes down to the over and under, of course, they've went under in 4 out of the 7 games that they played at home and went under in 3 out of the 4 games that they played against the AFC. Now, when I go ahead and I look at this, I know that this, to me, Jeff, I'm going to be real honest with you. And I don't trust the Steelers, but I'm going to trust them on Sunday. The Titans should not be the favorite here. Derrick Henry's not walking through that door right now. Sorry, just can't do it. Tannehill is not a big game quarterback like that. And this is the type of spot where Vrabel knows he wants to go win, but he knows that this win is not dire. This is just for positioning and everything in the AFC. But at the end of the day, the Titans are pretty much one of the solid teams in the AFC playoff race. So, they don't have to worry about winning. So I'm taking the Steelers because this is a must-win situation. The Steelers lose here, it's the season. It's over.
I look at the computer model. It has Tennessee minus 2.5, 43 total. And now I see them down to 1. I think a lot of people are following your lead on this one, Pops. But I'm just taking it a step further. Titans 9-4, the Steelers 6-1. We had a great win with the Steelers a couple weeks ago at home against the Ravens. They come from behind, and actually they had the lead, and the Ravens went for 2 and lost. I'm going to follow Vegas's lead here. Again, you're right. There is no O. Henry. There is no A.J. Brown. Julio is back, but he's just a shell of himself. But for some reason, the Titans are favored here, and it doesn't make sense to me. I think this is your classic 23-20 late second field goal. We're going to take the Titans in the money line here. And again, listen, anyone back in the Steelers here, absolutely see why. One of Big Ben's last games at home, a team fighting to stay into the playoff race. A win here gets them to 7-6-1, and that tie is really holding up its weight and keeping them involved in this race here. So we're going to take a swing with the Titans. I'll just tell you this. If Tannehill goes in there and throws 2 or 3 picks and they lose the turnover battle, this game will get ugly fast. But we'll take a shot with the Titans just to win minus the 125, Pops.
All right, so there it is with that. And also, you said that this is one of Ben's final games at home. This is bittersweet in a sense as well, too, because if anybody knows, when we had the old AFC Central, at one point that division was the only division I think ever in NFL history in the modern times that had 6 teams to it. The Titans were a participant in that division, and they used to have a monster rivalry with the Steelers in the old Steve McNair Eddie George days. So I know you remember that, Jeff. That was one of the better, funner rivalries in the NFL. And I remember if we were playing overs and unders, you already know that this game is going to go under. But this game used to be a primetime game for about a good 5, 6, 7 years. And as you know, once they split the divisions and everything like that, then it's not a rivalry anymore. But I just want to remind you guys that regardless of anything, this is an old friend, not an old friend, but an old counterpart of the Steelers, the Tennessee Titans, even though it's not the Houston Oilers anymore, but still they put together some really good games, both of those franchises. So it's pretty cool to see Ben go against a team that was a monster rival for the Steelers for so many years. So just wanted to throw that little part in there as well too. You know, me and my NFL historian stuff. All right, so we got the Jets and the Dolphins coming up, and I know this one gets Jeff excited. I already know. Jets and Dolphins. All right, so this one right here, we got the Dolphins coming here plus minus 500. Jets are plus 350. Dolphins are going to be their highest line of the year at -9, over under a 42.5. It is hard to go ahead and really try to, say to myself that, I want to deal with the Jets because I really do. Because I don't trust the Dolphins, honestly, with this big of a spread. But the Dolphins did win their last meeting in Week 12, 24-17 at MetLife. The Jets coming here 3-10 against the spread, just like their record. And then they are 7-6. They have went over in 7 out of their 13 games. Now, when it comes to the against the spread and straight up versus the AFC, they're 3-6. And when it comes to the under, they went the over and under. They went over in 5 out of those 9 games. Now versus the division, they are 0-4. That's against the spread and straight up. These games have been won by 20 points or better, each one of them. Jeff, this is the absolute, except for the last one with the Dolphins. Now, when it comes down to the road games, they played 6 of them. They're 1-5 against the spread and straight up, and they're 1-4 versus the AFC. Now, when it comes down to the over and under, of course, they've went under in 4 out of 6 of those games on the road, and they've actually went ahead and went under, and they've wound up going under in 3 out of the 5 games versus the AFC. Now, the Dolphins coming here, one of the hotter teams in the NFL, 5-game winning streak, 6-7 against the spread on the season as well, too. It's identical to their record, under in 9 of their 13 games this year. Now versus the AFC, they are 4-5 straight up, 5-4 against the spread. And when it comes down to the division, they're 2-2 against the spread, and they're even when it comes to the over and under. Now at home, they're 4-3 against the spread and straight up, and then they're 2-2 versus the AFC. They've won their last 4 in a row though at home as well too, after starting the year off 0-3. Straight up. So they're getting it together in that regard, and they went under in 5 out of the 7 games at home, and then they've also went under in 3 out of the 4 games versus the AFC this year. So what I'm going to do here is I really want to say trust the Jets, but the Jets messed me up so bad a few weeks back as my dog bet of the week by blowing that game they could have won. I just don't think the Jets are good enough to cover. You know what I mean? Like, seriously, the Jets are 3-10 for 3-10. That just means that they win, but they've won, but they can't cover. That's the problem. You know what I mean? Like for them to cover, they have to win. They're not going to win this game. So I'm taking the Dolphins.
We have been kind of on the right side of the Jets for a while now. And again, another divisional game. I expect the Jets to show up. Now, what does that mean? I don't know. I don't expect them to mail this one in, put it that way. And I'm looking at our computer model right now. We had it at 7 with a 44.5, and now it's bloomed to 9.5. It's 9.5 all across your Vegas strip ups. I'm taking the points here. I'm hoping that they can win the turnover battle. The defense shows up. That's the one side of the ball that they still been playing and playing hard. I know that they're decimated with injuries, and as we were talking earlier, Tyler Lockett just added now. I mean, the COVID list is just stupid now at this point, but they're not going to slow down. So again, anyone playing these games might want to wait till Sunday. just to make sure that you could field the team. But we're going to grab the points here. Hope they keep it within 7 with a total of 41.5 now. We got to get to 17 or more. So I'm hoping that the Jets can get to that 20-21 range, and that 9 points will definitely keep it in play. So we're going to grab the dog here. Jets +9 and pray Pops.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So with that gets us to our next break as well too. So when we get back, we're going to be breaking down the last 2 early games, and then we're going to jump into the early portion of these late games. So you guys stay tuned. This is the NFL Bet Exchange with your host, Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper, and the Don of Cape Cod, Jeff Dawson. We'll be right back.
Now you and your friends can compete in the sport of kings and win big with Stable Duel. Get the app, pick your horses, and get in on the thrill of horse racing with daily games competing against other players. Bring home the glory and the cash, and move up the annual leaderboard while you leave your competition in the dust. Get in the game with Stable Duel. Play, race, win.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners and I'll Have Another and Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
All right, we are back with the NFL Bet Exchange. Shout out to my man Doug O'Neill as well too. Was so proud of him, man. He won he actually won the trainers meet over there at Del Mar this summer as well too. So much props to Doug for that. And he actually won the Santa Anita too.
Pops, I'm just looking down at the schedule here. Kind of comical. We talked on your show earlier this week on Tuesday. The NBA and Christmas is their day, and they got 5 games. Well, I get the schedule right here in front of me. The NFL's got Cleveland and Green Bay at 4:30 and Indianapolis and Arizona at 8:15. So sports junkies, I know it's Christmas Day, but you're going to be locked and loaded on Christmas Day for sure, Pops.
And then we got a bowl game too, the Camellia Bowl. Even though that's not even though, you know what, it's a sneaky good matchup there. I know a lot of people will look at the matchup and say, I don't know about this one, but I think it's a sneaky good matchup there, to be honest with you. And you guys be on the lookout too. I have my bowl pick for the first week that we went through tomorrow morning for you guys, because we got such an early game starting tomorrow as well too. We got a game started at 9 a.m. tomorrow, Jeff. Yeah. So it is what it is. All right. So, yeah, 9 a.m. start. All right, let's jump into our next game. And this is the game that me and Jeff probably can go ahead and zoom by. Like, literally, like, we're just doing it because we know that it wouldn't be right if we didn't add them. But come on, man.
This game,
Jags. This is the Stinky Bowl.
Well, this game actually has some flair, and I think Vegas has got all of a sudden, because this game Pops opened at 3.5. It shot up to 5. It's 5.5 at Circa. They fire Urban Meyer, and everyone is now on the Jags, because I think the Jags are going to prove to the world that it was Urban Meyer keeping them down. It's not the stench of the team. So this line has jumped to 5.5. Listen, we were on the Jags early. Here we bought the hook down to 3. We got value now with a closing line or EV, CLV, whatever you want to say. But listen, I'll step in front of this train, and I think the Jags roll.
All right, I'm gonna let you put your pick out first, because you know what? I remember everybody said week 1 they was gonna roll as well too, and they wound up getting rolled in Houston. So I don't know, because they lost 37-21 week 1 in Houston. Now Houston isn't good; they're 2-11, but they're 5-8 against the spread. Also, they've went under in 8 out of their 13 games now against the AFC. They're 2-7 straight up, 3-6 against the spread. They went under in 7 out of the 9 games versus the AFC. Now in the division, they're 2-2 against the spread and straight up, and they've went under in 3 out of the 4 games. Now the Jags, 4-9 against the spread, went under in 11 out of the 13 games they've been a part of. 2-6 straight up versus the AFC. And then they're 4-4 against the spread. They went under in 6 out of the 8 games that they played against the AFC. Now, they're 0-4 straight up in the division. They've only covered once, going 1-3 versus division, and they've went under in 3 out of 4 of their games. I'm going to go ahead, and we're going to have to face off here, Jeff. I'm taking the Texans, man. I just don't trust the Jags. I'm sorry. I know that they got rid of Urban Meyer and everything like that, but at the end of the day, if that was the reason why you guys were getting held up, then pretty much, you know what? Then you guys don't need to play in the NFL, because at the end of the day, man, you play for each other. And I know this. This is the great Bill Walsh said this himself, that players play for themselves. And so pretty much if you guys make the excuse that the coach was the biggest problem of why you guys weren't performing, then I can't rock with you. I'm taking the plus 3.5 on the Texans.
Again, we were on the right side week 1. We were on Houston. The Jags, like you said, I think were short favorites. Houston rolled them. I just love the fact that, Urban's gone. Anyone that's into props, look for a James Robinson anytime score. That guy has been held down with duct tape and you name it. And so good to see Urban gone. It'll be kind of comical, too, because his name will get floated around here and there. If anyone hires him, I don't care. I wouldn't hire him for a high school coach right now. And I hope he tries to get back with Fox and they say thanks, but no thanks. I mean, what a piece of, excuse my French, shit. I mean, the guy was garbage, hot garbage. And, you try to catch lightning in a bottle and I mean, come on, Jags, you're smarter than that, but it is what it is. And we'll see what happens on Sunday.
Man, I'm going to tell you like this. I think that the pills that he's been taking were just a bit too much, man. It was just a bit too much because, he got them heart pills and stuff. So it kind of might mess with your mental a little bit. You're not getting your sleep on time.
You just, you start to believe your shit. If you're talking up shit, you start to believe it. And you go from Utah to Florida to Ohio State. And let's not talk about all the bridges he burned and all the corruption in Florida, all the corruption in Ohio State. And then the health stepped in, and then he's got a nice, sweet little gig in Fox. And, I think when they come with the bags and then you say, well, if you sure you really want me, you sure? And you learn the hard way, and I think he's done. I hope he's done. I don't think anyone – listen, if he wasn't under contract, I guarantee you he would have got one of those big jobs in college, though, whether it was an LSU, whether it was a Notre Dame, whether it was a USC. He probably would have nailed one of those. So I'm kind of glad that he's SOL. I mean, he's going to still get paid, but, good luck, pal.
You know what? Florida's kicking themselves right now because they could have had him. They could have just waited because they knew he was going to get fired, or they could have called him and said, come on back. But they didn't do that. And let me just give you a team, quite possibly, not right now, but next season. If he doesn't do well this year, even though he's brought in a good recruiting class this year, if Chip Kelly fails to get UCLA at least to the Pac-12 championship game next year, I would say this if I was the AD. Get him out of there, bring me Urban, because if you bring Urban Meyer to the UCLA Bruins, I guarantee they will be the best team in the Pac-12 once he starts coaching them.
I'll take Lincoln Riley. I'll take the USC boys.
Man, Lincoln Riley, I don't know about him being that great of a coach. I think that he has a great amount of talent. And I just think that, if you brought Urban Meyer to UCLA, it would just make a whole lot of fun in the city of Los Angeles between the Bruins and the Trojans, because this is exactly what both teams would need, because they should not be middling in the Pac-12 South. They should be the top 2 teams in the Pac-12 South. You know what I mean? I'm not, it's hard for me to look at UCLA, USC right now and be like, why are you guys not the top teams in your division. You know what I mean? They actually gave you the easier teams. You know what I mean? Utah, Colorado, and both the Arizonas. You know what I mean? So come on, man. All right, so let's move on. Let's get into your boys. Jeff is the Cardinals guy. Man, they needed you when they used to play over at Frank Kush Stadium. Fourth regional on Fox. No, the fourth regional on CBS. We got to go all the way back, way back.
Hey, listen, I'll bring back Neil Lomax. How's that?
Hey, look, Jeff, and you do remember the Cardinals and Buccaneers were always the fourth regional. And everybody's like, what do you mean fourth regional? See, before we had DirecTV and all that good stuff, if your game was the fourth regional, that meant that your game is only in your area. It's only going to be in those two states. Nobody else is going to watch you. Only reason why the CBS showed up today was to have tape for the highlight reel.
Who is Jake Plummer for 200, please?
Right. Exactly. They ruined Jake Plummer, though. Jake Plummer was probably the best thing that happened to the Cardinals. I think that he's always been a part of when the Cardinals got the stank out their mouth for a while. You know what I mean? Because without that playoff appearance, I feel like against the Cowboys years ago, Enos Williams was their superstar and everything like that. I don't think they get the new stadium. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people came in for that last playoff push with that team, and I think that the Jerry Maguire thing kind of helped them get a little bit more attention as well too. So it is what it is. But damn, I've tailed off for the last 5 minutes talking about some whole other stuff. I'm doing exactly what the guys that I can't stand do. So, Lions. Cards coming to this game 10-3. Lions 1-11-1. The Cardinals are 9-4 against the spread, but they've dropped their last 2 out of 3 games as well too. Actually, their last it's just I don't know. It's just a different team right now. They have went over in 7 out of the 13 games they played in. Now, straight up versus the NFC, they're 6-3 against the spread. They are 5-4. They went over in 7 out of 9 games versus the NFC this year as well too. Now, when it comes to their road record, we all know that they are the best team when it comes to the road, and they're 7-0 against the spread and straight up 4-0 versus the NFC. They went over 4 out of 7 of those games, and they are split when it comes to their NFC matchups in those 4 games as well too. Now, as a favorite, they're 4-4 against the spread and 5-3 straight up. So, yeah, this team is a team that you have to really take seriously and know that pretty much you're going to play a perfect game if you're Detroit. Now, Detroit, they are 7-6 against the spread. That's good. That's good. Because Detroit actually went on a nice little 3-4 game run with the spread as well too. So they've been a good cash cow for guys the last few weeks as well too. Also, they went under in 8 out of 13 games. Now, straight up versus the NFC, they are 1-7, but against the spread, they're 5-3. And when it comes to the NFC, the over/under, they are split in that category. Now, at home, they played 6 home games. They're 1-5 straight up. And then when it comes to the spread, they're 4-2. Now, versus the NFC, straight up 1-3. Against the spread, 3-1. Now, when it comes down to the over and under, they are split in that category in their 6 games. And also, when it comes down to the spread as a dog, it's the same thing that I already highlighted, 7-6, and straight up they're 1-11-1. I just want to throw that out there to let everybody know they haven't been a favorite all season long. Now, when I look at this game, I know that I should be taking the Cardinals here to win by 2 touchdowns, but I think that this is going to be the type of game that's been the type of game for Detroit this year where they play big game football against the better teams in the NFL. I think that they had themselves a great day against the Cardinals, and they wound up making this game much more closer than it looks on paper. I'm taking them with the plus 13.5. Jeff, what are your thoughts?
Seven 7-0 coming off a loss. No Hopkins. Who cares? This is a rout. I don't think I'll be nice and say that the Lions get to 14 at tops. The Cardinals 30, 31 at least. So I listen, this is a get well game. And I think Murray and company just take care of business early and often. I think the defense shines here. Pops is on my eyes. This is blowout city. And I definitely have seen the Lions come back from getting blown out in the first half and actually backdoored a few teams here in this spot, but I don't see this. I think that Murray and company take care of business.
I just don't like the ankle with Murray right now. I just think that he's gimpy. He's just playing to play, and he's playing because he wants to make sure he wants to make sure his team wins the game. I understand that part, but it could be detrimental to the team as well too. And I just can't trust it until I can see him walking normal again. Because every time I see him go to the sideline, that ankle was bothering him, and that was a big reason why he couldn't do what he does against the Rams, what he did against the Rams the first time around, in my opinion.
Well, just and his attitude lately, it's almost like he's walking around like Aaron Rodgers, and it's everyone else's fault but his own. I mean, I go back to that Monday night game. He had Hopkins wide open in the corner, and what does he do? The ball gets batted down. In the first quarter, he had A.J. Green wide open in the back right for the pylon, and he missed him. Murray has been awful lately, awful. So this will be a good test for them, and especially if that ankle's gimpy, what better way than to put up a quick 31 in the first half and shutting them down for the second half?
Right, because that was a ball hog move that he did on Monday night. You know what I mean? And I said that's never good for teams when your quarterback has 400 total yards and your team only had 47 by itself. You know what I mean? That's not a good stat, Jeff, at all. So pretty much it is what it is. Even though it looks great for the fantasy owners and everything, it's a horrible stat in my opinion, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? Especially when you lose, you know what I mean? Because I've seen this happen to Baltimore on several occasions where Lamar had a great game, but they lost simply because he did way too much. You know what I mean? All right. So we have the Bengals and the Broncos. And I would say that this is possibly the game of the week because this right here, to me, winner moves on, loser gets prepared to draft in the 16 through the 20s this year. Okay? That's how I feel in this game. And I'm going to be dead honest with you. Bengals come into this game with a big reason for why they need to win. Now, this team did start the year off 3-1, and they've been 4-5 since. Okay? And they lost their last two in a row. Both were home games. And they were both huge home losses as well, too, especially that loss to the Chargers. Now they're 7-6 against the spread. They went over in 7 out of their 13 games. Now versus the AFC, they're 5-3 straight up. They're 1-1 versus the AFC West. Okay. Now when it comes to the spread, they're 4-4 against the spread versus the AFC this year as well, too. That's a pretty good stat in itself as well. And they have went in the same regard with that 1-1 versus the AFC West. Now, when it comes down to the over and under versus the AFC, they went over in 5 out of those 8 games. And in the 2 games that they played against the West, once again they split. All right, so you have the Broncos coming into this game 4-6 since their 3-0 start this season, and then they're 7-6 against the spread as well. Also, they have went under in 10 out of the 13 games that they've played in. And when it comes to playing the AFC against the spread and straight up to 3-5, and then when it comes down to the over and under, they've actually went under in 6 out of those 8 games. Now, pretty much at home, they are 4-3 against the spread and straight up at home, and they're 2-2 versus the AFC. And they've went under in 5 out of their 7 games at home, and they've went under in 3 out of the 4 games versus the AFC. And as a favorite, they are 5-4 against the spread and straight up, and the Bengals are 3-3 against the spread and straight up as an underdog. So I think that this game really needs to be a pick 'em. We really shouldn't have any of these teams be a plus here, but since they're going to give me charity here, I don't mind. The Bengals are going to absolutely wash this phony team. I think the Broncos are the biggest smoke and mirror winning team in the NFL that to speak of. The reason being is because simply they have two quality wins: Cowboys, Chargers. Everybody else was teams that are really, really bad. Okay, and you can't really tell. You can't come to me and say, "Oh, they were good." No, no. Those 5 wins, other than those 5 wins that they had, they were supposed to win those games, and 3 of them came in the first 3 weeks. So what does that tell you, Jeff? You know what I mean? A team that went on a 4-game losing streak after they went on 3-0. They can't be trusted. Give me the Bengals plus 120. Your thoughts?
I like where your head is. We were spot on with the Bengals all year, and now they have run into a little losing streak, and they've been inconsistent. I think Joe Burrow's dealing with a couple little injuries. The Burrows to Chase madness has subsided. Chase has had the drops again. 2 close games at the Bengals. Actually, I shouldn't say close. The Chargers mauled them in a game last week where they actually had a chance to win the game, settled for the field goal, and the Niners come down and beat them. Must win for them if they want any chance to hold on here. We bought the hook and took them up to 3. I like where your head is as well. I would sprinkle a little pizza and beer money on the plus 120. I think the goal for them is to get out early. Don't play from behind. Get out early. And then once you are out early, you can establish Mixon more and then start to dink and dunk with Boyd, with Higgins. Then try to, take the go up top to Chase. So I like the Bengals here. I think they get it done, Pups.
And there it is. There it is. All right. So we move on. Let's go ahead and jump into our next late game that we have here. This is going to be the Falcons and the 49ers. And just real quick for all my people, for all my little millennials and everything that watch the show and don't really know the history between the Falcons and the 49ers, just know that these teams played each other for, 20 years, Jeff? About 20, 25, 30 years as the worst location division ever. You had 3 teams on the West Coast and you had 2 teams in the Deep South. It made absolutely no sense. And then the funny part about it is that they added in years later. Actually, they had 2 California teams and 2 Deep South teams, and then they added in the Panthers. So that's how you guys get the NFC South. The 3 members of the NFC South used to all be members of the NFC West. So whenever they hook up with each other, they know each other. And the Niners and Falcons produce some very fun games between those 2 franchises. So I just had to bring that up real quick, Jeff. And they've been playing each other. They played each other a few times here in the last few years as well, too. So, the Falcons got a big win one year when the Niners went to the playoffs. So, this game is always a good one. But you have the Falcons coming in here 6-7. 49ers feeling good about themselves, 7-6 right now. Winners of they went ahead and got that monster win that they needed as well too. The Falcons are 5-4 since their 1-3 start to the season. That's pretty good, and they are actually 6-7 against the spread. They've won under in 7 out of their 13 games. Now versus the NFC, they're 3-6 against the spread and straight up. And when it comes to the over, they've went over in 5 out of the 9 games they played against the NFC. Now, on the road, they're 5-2 against the spread and straight up. And versus the NFC, they're 3-1. Now, when it comes down to the over and under, they went over in 4 out of those 7 games on the road, and they split with the NFC. Now, as an underdog, they're 3-5 against the spread and straight up. Now, the 49ers come in here 5-2 since a 4-game losing streak. The 49ers were written off, Jeff. You remember that. They won their first 2 games this season, then lost 4 in a row, and everybody was like, well, okay, the 49ers are done. They're a bad team. They're terrible. Bruh, it's mid-October, and we told you during our preview that they probably have the best roster, not quarterback-wise, but they probably have the best overall roster when it comes down to the meat and potatoes of the NFL. So you have to just understand that I think the biggest thing holding up the San Francisco 49ers is Shanahan, to be honest with you. So when I look into my notes, I see 6-6-1 against the spread. They've went over in 7 out of their 13 games against the spread, and straight up, they're 5-5. They went over in 6 out of those 10 games. Now, again, at home, they're 2-4, but they've won their last 2 home games. They've won their last 2 home games, to be exact, as well too. And they're 2-3 versus the NFC as well too. And then also they've went over in 4 out of their 6 games at home. And then also once again that they went over in 3 out of the 5 games versus the NFC. Now, as a favorite, they're 6-5 straight up, and against the spread, they're 5-6. What I'm going to do here, Jeff, I'm going to say this: Falcons are just like the Jets. You only cover when you win. I don't think you're going to win this game. I think the 49ers have themselves a good work it out type of game. And I'm taking them to win this game by 2 touchdowns or better. Your thoughts?
Yeah, we talked about the 49ers at length. They were my preseason to win the West, to win the NFC. They're not out of it yet at 7-6. They have struggled at home. I fully expect them to get healthy on the Falcons. A Falcons team that quietly pops is 6-7, and so everyone poo-pooed this team for a while, and they're not just covering, they're actually winning some games. And it's a game where I think if the 49ers come in high off their laurel after the win in Cincinnati, they could be in for a world of hurt. So I expect all-out blitz here by the Niners. I expect them to get out early and often. I expect a big game from the defense. And the big issue with Matty Ryan, again, is in the red zone, settling for field goals. And I think that what will happen here. We bought the hook. We got the Niners -9. Fully expect a double-digit win here, pups.
All right. So there it is with that, and we are going to go ahead and take our final commercial break. And when we get back, we're going to get into these final 2 late games, and then we're going to get into the Sunday night and Monday night football games. So you guys stay tuned. This is the NFL Bet Exchange. I'm your host, Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper, and my co-host, the Don of Cape Cod, Mr. Jeff Dawson, and we'll be right back.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners, and I'll have another in Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
Tune into Big Wave Boxing every week with a brand new guest, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper, getting the best boxing stories, best boxing angles, and the truth when it all comes down to the sweet science. Tune into Big Wave Boxing on the Prime Wave Media channel on YouTube.
All right, we are back with the NFL Bet Exchange, and we are on the stretch drive of the show. Oh, stretch drive! I know Jeff's excited because he's ready to go do something else. Nah, man, I hope you guys are well informed, man. I hope I'm bringing it with the notes. Because pretty much, it is what it is at the end of the day. We got the Rams and the Seahawks, one of the funner games that we get to encounter in the NFC West. every year, Jeff, that this one is always one that makes you think a little bit. You know what I mean? So you have a Rams team that did win 26-17 on week 6 on Thursday Night Football in Seattle. It used to be the toughest place to win at. Now it just became everybody's playground this season for some odd reason. But Seattle used to be a tough spot to win at. Not so much this season. Seahawks 2-1 since Russell returned to the lineup. 4-3 overall on the season when Russell does start this game. So they do have a winning record when their starting quarterback is there. They are 7-6 against the spread. They've went under in 10 out of their 13 games this year. Now, versus the NFC, they're 2-6 straight up. They lost 4 out of 5 after a 2-0 start versus the conference. Now, against the spread, they're 3-5. And when it comes to the over and under, as you know, they've went under in 7 out of the 8 games, with the first 7 games going under. So their last game actually did go over the game against the 49ers. So that could be trending upward. You never know. And then you have the straight up here with the on the road. They're 3-4 on the road. That's not bad. Most of their wins have came on the road, and they're 1-3 versus the NFC though in that regard. They're 4-3 against the spread on the road, but they're 1-3 versus the NFC in that regard. Once again, that's weird. I know that's really weird too, but actually they're 2-2. I'm sorry about that. On the road. So pretty much you have the 1-5, and then also when it comes down to the over and under on the road, they've actually went under in 5 out of those 7 games. No surprise there. As an underdog this year, they're 2-4 straight up against the spread. They're 4-2. The Rams coming to this game won their last 2 in a row after losing 3 straight. So all this stuff about the Rams falling off and falling apart, you can go ahead and throw that to the left because the Rams are going to be a playoff team. It's just where do they line up at in the playoffs? That's the whole thing. All right, they're 6-7 against the spread. They've went over in 7 out of their 13 games. They're 6-3 versus the NFC straight up, 5-4 against the spread, and they've went over in 5 out of the 9 games they played against the conference. Now at home, they're 4-2 straight up, 3-1 versus the NFC, 3-3 against the spread at home, 2-2 versus the NFC, and then they're even when it comes to the over and under at home, and they've actually went over in 3 out of the 4 games versus the NFC. Now, as the favorite, the Rams are 4-7 against the spread and 7-4 straight up. So I'm telling you, this game right here looms a big danger to me because, as I told you off air, I really do feel like Seattle is making that dash to the finish line. And you know what I'm talking about, Jeff, where you last place and the rocket gets up your butt. And you hit that corner, and the shadows start showing. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying Seattle wins the division, but they could sneak into that 7th spot, which is wide open at this point. I love them with the plus 4.5. I can't take them to win, but I will say that they can cover in this game.
You know, as we were going through the show today, that line we talked about off air was at 4.5. Something must have came across where everyone has now moved that to 5.5. South Point's still at 4.5. Westgate at 5, but most of the Vegas Strip now 5.5. So keep an eye there. Something smells here. We talked about the Rams, nice win in Arizona. Now they come back home where they've struggled, and a Seahawks team that basically saying, hey, we're not done yet. Don't count us out yet. So we decided, the 4.5 would be great. Anyone listening here, grab the 4.5. But we're taking the Seahawks plus the 185 in the money line. We think it's a great price, great value here. And I think they got a puncher's chance to win this game. Tyler Lockett was just added to the COVID list. So, again, probably see a lot more Metcalf, some Swain. We'll see who's in the backfield here. But, again, they're going to not have to allow Michelle, and if Henderson's playing, to run rampant. So we like the Seahawks here, Pops, plus the 185 money line.
And there goes Jeff's dog bet of the week.
Oh!
You know, when Jeff throws his dog bet out there, he'll get you. I still can never forget when we did Capcast years ago, or It was either Capcast. It was an NFL show that we did together, and Jeff threw out the Jets. And Jets were going through a really bad moment at that time. I think he threw out the Jets when they beat the Cowboys that day. That big win they got over the Cowboys at MetLife. And nobody was giving the Jets a chance at all that season. And Jeff was like, well, the game looks like it's going to be – it could be come down to the Jets, winning. I'm going to go ahead and mark the Jets. And this is when we used to do the Sunday. We'll do it on Sundays. Yeah. Now it's all coming back to me. We used to do it on Sundays. And Jeff called out the Jets. And me and the other hosts were like, I don't know what Jeff was smoking this morning, but okay. The Jets went out there and absolutely crushed the Cowboys that day. So that's why I said I'll never, ever do that again with Jeff when he comes to bat, because he knows what the hell he's talking about when he calls out certain upsets. So, man, kudos to you.
I remember that Dallas came in like 7-8 point favorites,
right,
and the whole world was on them, and
right.
They just destroyed everyone's suicide pool, every money line parlay, every teaser. It was funny. It was box to wire. I was laughing. I remember that like it was yesterday, Pops.
And dude, they were a 5.5. And Jeff, you said, isn't it kind of fishy that they're a 5.5 against the worst team in the NFL, and they're supposed to be one of the best teams in the NFL? There it goes. Sports betting 101 for you.
Oh, those were the days, Pops.
Those were the days. All right, so we have ourselves, which is the AFC-NFC game of the week. It's really one of the only NFC-AFC matchups that we do have this week as well, too. I'm looking at the other games, and I think this is like the only one that we have this week, AFC versus NFC. We've had so many, multiple AFC-NFC matches, but not this week. Okay, we look at this one, and you have a Packers team coming in here as the favorite, minus 250, and the Ravens are plus 200, plus 5.5 to the Ravens at home, over and under 43.5. The Ravens are 8-5, Packers 10-3. Packers have won their last 2 games in a row. They're 9-4 against the spread. They've went under in 9 out of their 13 games this season. Now, versus the AFC this year, they're doing pretty good. They're 2-1 straight up versus the AFC. They're 3-0 when it comes to the spread as well, too, and they've went under in all 3 games versus the AFC this year. Now, on the road, they are 4-3 straight up, and they're 1-1 versus the AFC in that regard. Now, when it comes to the spread, they're 5-2, and they're 2-0 versus the AFC in that regard. And when it comes to the over and under, they went under in 5 out of their 7 games and went under in both of the AFC matchups that they had as well, too. And here goes the stat that will get everybody a little excited right here and think that the Packers are just that solid lock. They have met they are 6-4 against the spread as a favorite, and they are astonishing 8-2 straight up as the favorite. So, when you got 10 games as a favorite and you cover like that at 60% and you win at 80%, it's a no-brainer, right? Yeah. And then you have a Ravens team that possibly can go without the former MVP, Lamar Jackson, this week as well, too. Yeah, okay. And then you have a Ravens team that's lost their last 3 out of 5 after being 6-2 this season, and they're 6-7 against the spread as well, too. And they've went under in 7 out of their 13 games this year. Now, hardy har. They are 3-0 straight up versus the NFC, but they're 1-2 against the spread versus the NFC, and they've had 2 out of the 3 games versus the NFC go under. Now, straight up at home, they're 5-1 with that one blemish being to the Bengals, and they're 1-0 versus the NFC in that regard. Now, against the spread, they're 3-3 at home, but against the spread, they're 0-1. That comes from that Minnesota game, Jeff. And then the over and under, they've went over in 4 out of 6 games at home, and they went over in the game versus the NFC. Now, as an underdog, this is even better. They're actually 3-0 against the spread, and they're 2-1 straight up as the underdog. So this is a tough game when you look at everything on paper. And I know everybody's going to say, well, Lamar's not playing, so if Lamar's not playing, that means the Ravens lose. I don't think so. Huntley is the same exact quarterback. He's not as skillful as Lamar, but he gets the job done. This is like Tyrod. This is like the old Flacco Tyrod Taylor dynamic in the quarterback room. You know what I mean, Jeff? So pretty much at the end of the day, I trust Huntley if he's the starter. And once again, the Packers are in a position where they can afford to lose a game. The Ravens really can't because they go to 8-6 and the Browns go 8-6. They got to split with the Browns. And if the Bengals go 8-6, the Bengals have the advantage in the season series right now. So they would be maybe third place by the time we get done with Sunday. I don't think that that's going to happen to this team. But if any team can get back from that situation, will be the Ravens. But I think they put in the absolute classic on Sunday at Baltimore when nobody sees it coming. Give me the Ravens plus 200. I know they're not my dog bet of the week, but still, I think they're good money. I'm rocking with both teams that are in the Dallas in the DMV area, as they like to call it.
You know, we talk about playing to survive versus playing for seedings, especially number one seedings. Correct me if I'm right or wrong. Didn't Huntley get drafted by the Packers?
Huntley, not Huntley.
Okay.
Huntley.
All right. That's right.
Huntley, Utah.
Okay.
Yeah. Utah.
All right. We took the 6. We bought the hook. We took them up to 6. Listen, the secondary is going to be key here. Can I just tell the Ravens and Mr. Harbaugh this? There's a guy over there called Devontae Adams that is his binky, okay? So if you got to triple or quadruple him, let Lazard, let Cobb, or I don't care. Just don't let Adams beat you, period. End of discussion. And I'll take the team in desperation again, but you're going to know early here, Pops, if Rodgers is not getting pressured, if Rodgers is hitting Adams, if they get out early and at halftime that the Ravens are chasing, it's going to be a long ball game. But we followed your lead here. We took the 6 here. We bought the hook. Let's keep this close. Let me just look at the numbers here quickly for you. 1 second here. Let me move this. The initial computer model was 2. Obviously, that was based upon Lamar. It has now gone to 5.5. It's staying at 5.5 with an under over that opened at 45.5, which is now down to 43.5 or 44. So again, we need Baltimore to get to that 2021 range. They can't get stuck on 13 or 17 here. So let's give us the Ravens. Let's stay alive here. They're 8-5. They could handle one more loss, but it would get ugly from there. And still, Lamar is a question mark. Again, didn't practice today. Tomorrow will be the true test. But I think Harbaugh has enough confidence in him that if he gets out there on Sunday in pregame and it feels good, that he would obviously give him a shot. So we'll take a shot with the Ravens, Pops.
All right. And you know why, man? I just trust the Ravens here. You just said it. Their defense is going to get when things like this happen, their defense gets the call. And when they knew Lamar wasn't coming back last week, even though they got down 24-3 at one point, did it matter? They still worked their way back into that game against the Browns at the end of the day. And so Huntley had already won the week before when Lamar was out in a dramatic situation in that game. Now you give them the full game, and I think that they do the same exact thing here against Green Bay. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. Because to me, Green Bay is really coasting right now, and they really don't feel like they don't seem like a team that's been challenged in a while. So that's where I'm going at with this in regards. But let's go ahead. It is the Sunday night football game. Sunday night football. And there it is, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the New Orleans Saints. And the Saints did win the first game they won the first game in this matchup this season. They won 36-27 week 8 in New Orleans. Now the Saints have lost 5 out of 6. They just snapped their 5-game losing streak last week, and that went over the Jets. Now they're 5-8 against the spread. They've won under an 8 out of their 13 games versus the NFC. They are 4-5 against the spread. They're 3-6. And when it comes to the over and under, they've went over in 5 out of those 9 conference games. Now, on the road, they've played 7 games. They're 4-3 against the spread and straight up. 2-2 versus the NFC. They've went under in 4 out of 7 of those games. And they're even versus the NFC. Now in the division, they're 1-2 against the spread and straight up versus the division. It's crazy because their division win comes against the Buccaneers. That's nuts. And then when it comes to the over and under, they went under in 2 out of 3 of those games. Now they're 3-4 against the spread and straight up as an underdog. Okay, so the Saints coming to this game really on life support because this one right here can be the telltale if their season will continue. Get into the playoffs and everything like that. So this game is huge. Now the Bucs, winners of their last 4 in a row after a quick 2-game skid when everybody thought that it was, that the things were catching up with them and they were having problems and, Arians and Brady ain't getting along. And okay, 4 in a row, everybody can shut up now. You know what I mean? The Bucs need a little theater too. You know what I mean? And they have scored 30 or more in each home game this season. I think that's a record, Jeff, to be honest with you. I got to look it up to see who's the last team that scored 30 each home game that they played in the NFL. All right, so you're 8-5 against the spread this year, one of the better teams against the spread this year. And then you have the Bucs going over in 8 out of their 13 games this year. They're 6-3 versus the NFC straight up, 4-5 against the spread. That's the number right there that alarms me. And then when it comes down to the NFC, they are also have actually went under 5 out of those 9 games against the NFC. Now, they played 6 games at home, and they are 6-0 against the spread and straight up 4-0 versus the NFC. They went over in 4 out of 6 of those games, and they split with the NFC when it comes to the over and under. Now, versus division, they're 2-1 against the spread, and they went over in 2 out of their 3 games this year. You look at the numbers here. You got the 10.5. You got the Saints, big dog in it right here with the plus 400 and everything. You got the Bucs with the minus 550. So, Jeff, this is what I'm doing here. I'm gonna just go off the numbers right now, and the numbers tell me this: the Saints have won the last 3 matchups during the regular season against the Tom Brady-led Buccaneers, and they did the third job around without their Hall of Fame quarterback Drew Brees. So if that defense can somewhat step it up, this is going to be the first game of the season that the Bucs aren't just going to be just rip somebody's head off. I'm taking the Saints with the plus 10.5 because they need it more. Sean Payton, baby.
Computer model has 11.5 and 48. Currently, it's 46 and a hook, 10.5. 11 and a half, 10.5 at Jazz, 11 at the Vegas Strip. I got, as we were talking today, Leonard Fournette looks like he might be out on Sunday. So maybe Ronald Jones finally gets a taste of the action. This Tampa team at home has just been absolutely lights out. The Saints are struggling to score. Kamara is back. We bought the hook here. We took the Saints to 11. If you do the basic math, the total down to 46.5, 17, 27, 44. So you're going to have to get to 20 here. You're going to have to get to 20. Can the Saints offense do it? I don't know. I know the Saints defense is going to have to pitch in here. A swing and a prayer, as we're going to say here. Saints plus 11. Get out early. Play some keep away, hand that ball off to Kamara, dump it off to Kamara. Michael Thomas isn't walking through that door. Drew Brees isn't walking through that door. A team that's 6-7 that's not out, but with a loss will be out. So expect an inspired effort, and we'll see what happens, Pops.
I agree. I just think that the first guys that lose 9 games in the NFC will be out this week. If you're on the 8 mark this week and you lose, your season's up. Your playoff aspirations are over. You know what I mean? That's how I'm feeling this week. Because it used to be 8 was the number. Literally, your season was done. If you got to 8 before week 12 or so, now it's 9, the number. I think. So we'll see how it goes. All right, so pretty much we have our Sunday night football game. Monday night. Monday night football game. Sorry about that. And we got the Vikings and the Bears, a good old Monday night football matchup. How many times have we seen the Bears and Vikings play on Monday night football? Like literally, like this is a staple of the Monday night football schedule. And this is just as common as watching Packers Bears on Monday night football as well too. Damn, Bears just get everybody except for the Lions on Monday night football, huh? So what's another matchup that we use? Pats Bills now, but back in the day, Pats Bills was not a Monday night football matchup. That'd be a cold Sunday over at the old, not Gillette. I'm talking about the old stadium with the steel seats, Jeff. You know that one.
Foxborough.
Yeah, old Foxborough. Jeff won't tell you guys this, but you already know Jeff probably used to have to have some real days where he used to have to be it's -2, but you're still badgering me about what happened in the second quarter. I don't know. That stadium just gave me the big fight vibes. You know what I mean?
Aluminum seats on the butt when it's 0 degrees. It just didn't mesh.
Right. All right. So aluminum seat. Unbelievable. That's the park seats. That's seats at the park. And cold and aluminum do not mix it, like Jeff just said. So there's a lot of sticky butts at those games if you didn't have your warmers on. Sticky butt games. All right. So their first meeting of the season between the Vikings and the Bears. It's one of the more classic rivalries in the NFL. And this game always seems to have some playoff ramifications to it as well, too. The Vikings are the team fighting for a playoff spot. The Bears are over here getting ready to tear down the whole franchise to, bring in a new head coach and all that good stuff. So when you look at this, the Vikings come into this game. They just snapped a 2-game losing streak with a good win over the Steelers on Thursday Night Football. Also, they have came into this game 7-6 against the spread, 7-6 on the over and under. They're 4-4 straight up versus the NFC. They're 3-5 against the spread versus the NFC. They've also went over in 5 out of the 8 games this year as well too. Against the NFC now on the road, they're 2-5, 1-3 versus the NFC. That's straight up. You got 4-3 against the spread on the road. That's good, and they're 2-2 versus the NFC. Now, when it comes to the over, they've actually went over in 6 out of the 7 games this year on the road, 4-0 when it comes to the NFC. So when they play in these games versus their NFC counterparts, there's a lot of scoring going on in those games as well too. Now, versus the division, they're 2-1 straight up, 1-2 against the spread, and they went over in 2 out of those 3 games versus the division. Now, as a favorite, they are split at 3-3. They've been a favorite 6 times this season. Now, the Bears coming to this game looking like Pie after he got beat up by Brutus before he gets to the spinach. You know what I mean? And there ain't no spinach around right now for the Bears, to be honest with you, Jeff. The spinach is all out of spinach over at the grocery store. Sorry, Bears. But I say this because they've lost 5 straight games at home after a 2-0 start at home. They're 4-9 against the spread. They went under in 8 out of their 13 games as well, too. And then also, this team is actually 2-6 straight up versus the NFC. They're 1-7 against the spread versus the NFC, and they're split when it comes to the over and under. Now at home, they're 2-5 against the spread and straight up, and 1-4 versus the NFC. Now, when it comes to the over and under in those 7 games, they went over in 4 out of 7 of those games, and against the NFC, 3 out of 5. So they have that in their regard. They're scoring some points against their NFC opponents at home. And then the division, 2-2 straight up versus division, 1-3 against the spread, and they went under in 3 out of 4 of those games versus division foes. Now, as an underdog, this is where I really be like, yeah, I'm straight. 2-8 against the spread as an underdog, and then they're 1-9 straight up as well too as an underdog. So this is what I'm doing here, Jeff. I'm going to be real simple here. You're giving me 3.5 on the Vikings like you did last week. I know that the Bears have swept the season series last year, but this ain't last year, brother. And this ain't they had a better situation going last year with the quarterback. This year, no. I think that Vikings absolutely crushing this spot.
It's a game that I have flip-flopped, and when we do that, I just said, you know what, I just going to go with the team that I expect to win here. The score was misleading, I thought, on Sunday night in regards to, you get a punt return, you get a kickoff return. The defense was a sieve. Montgomery had no holes to run through. Justin Fields, every time he threw a ball, had to look up at the big screen, almost like, did I make a mistake? Did I not make a mistake? And listen, I know he's getting experience. I know he's going to be a good quarterback as his career progresses, but it's not this year. It's a team in total turmoil. They've gotten nothing out of Allen Robinson all year. They should have moved him. Mooney's been their shining star. Montgomery got hurt as he was showing flashes. It's a season that they're going to want to forget, and as soon as the season's over, Nagy will get his pink slip on Monday morning, and then they'll start with a coaching hunt for the Bears, monsters of the Midway. And I'm hearing some rumors here, just rumors, that Josh McDaniel again could be in the mix there. We'll see what happens, but we took the points out. We got the Vikings to win. It's a steep price, so anyone that's going to bet that money line and feeling squeezy on the -185, just risk your normal investment and you just profit a little less with a Vikings win. But we expect the Vikings to win here, Pops.
Here goes a fun name for you right now, Jeff, that I think that would be great for Justin Fields. And this is just a coach that I don't know if I think he's still an offensive coordinator in a lot of places, somewhere here in the NFL. I got to look it up. But Bill Musgrove is actually one of the sneaky good offensive coordinators in the league. Actually, Derek Carr's real great season that he had when the Raiders actually won about 11, 12 games that year. He was the offensive coordinator, and once again, Mark Davis being silly let him go because one bad playoff game, and everybody felt like they had to blame the offensive coordinator for why the Raiders lost to the Texans that day. I said, no, you lost because you did not have a backup quarterback in place. Okay, and you guys went out there and threw out a quarterback that was on the practice squad the whole season. So how the hell were you going to win a game? Let's be honest here. You know what I mean? You can't blame the offensive coordinator for that. So my point is like this. Bill Musgrove had left, right? He wasn't retained. Dummy Mark Davis didn't do it. Because the thing is, when you have a coach like that and the dynamic that he made with Carr was so exceptional, I feel like since they love bringing people back with the Raiders all the time, go get Bill Musgrove. And if the Raiders don't get him, the Bears definitely need to go get him because he would be the perfect complement for Justin Fields moving forward.
Well, a hot name that didn't move last year that I think will get a look here. I mean, if you just look at the situation, quarterback, running back, don't have a Tyreek Hill, don't have a Kels, but you have a Cole Kmet. My point is Bieniemy. I know, he went to Colorado. I'm not saying Colorado and Chicago are next door, but my point is, again, an offensive-minded coach. See, a coach like that, a coach like McDaniel's already failed, okay? And he had the job in Indy, and then he got cold feet. My point is, you got to make sure your staff is complete. In other words, your DC and all the other coaches in place. I just read not too long ago today, Urban Meyer telling his coaching staff that his coaching staff at Bowling Green was better than the coaching staff that he had. And the point of the matter is, didn't you hire these coaches? So it's one of these guys that can't look straight in the mirror. And my point would be Bieniemy or McDaniels or anyone that you're putting in place is, listen, you got to be able to be in charge, but you got to trust your opponent, your other OCs and your other quarterback coaches and stuff like that. You can't be in charge of the offense and the defense because it just
Gotcha. And that's a great way to end the show right there, because I know we really went well over today, but we had a good time today. We got you guys a lot of information and everything like that. And you guys already sit up there watching Good Morning Football for 6 hours straight. So, hey, why not deal with me and Jeff, where we're going to give you some winners and actually stay on topic. But shout out to a great show, though. I'm loving me some Good Morning Football in the morning. But if my baby girl ain't there, I can't watch it, though.
And don't forget,
Cynthia today. I said I can't do it. Homegirl from the bet show on Fox. I was like, I'm cutting you off because I already got to deal with you on the betting thing. So I'm not doing you today.
and there was a couple extra games this week as well, and we went into depth. We broke it down. You know, we've had some good weeks here, and again, last time I say this, guys. COVID. Be careful there. You might want to wait till Sunday morning to make sure, you know, you're betting on a team that was a 9-point favorite, and then you go to turn the game on and there's no one you recognize because half of them aren't playing because of COVID. So enjoy it.
Yes, sir. Always a pleasure, Mr. Dawson. Love it. Hopefully everything works out for us that I can get you back on Monday so we can talk about CBB over the weekend and all that good stuff in the NBA and the fallout from what's going on in the NFL after the fact. Talk that playoff picture as well, too. But all in all, this is the NFL Bet Exchange, and you guys are the absolute best. We thank you for tuning in. We'll be back next week for Week 16. And so, you guys, let's go ahead and cast some of them tickets, all right? So, I'm your host, Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper, and
Jeff Dawson, the Don of Cape Cod East Coast Sports Investors.
Right. I gotta let you do it one time for yourself. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So we're out of here, man. So we bid adieu. You guys have a beautiful day, and we'll see you next Thursday.
Thank you for tuning in to the NFL Bet Exchange, where the sharpest bets are laid. This show was produced by